like to call to order the, oh, thank you. Sorry, Terry. I'd like to call to order the September 1st, 2021 Parks Commission meeting, starting with a roll call. Ben Coronado, Parks Commission Chair. Mary Barber, Vice Chair.
Here.
Roger Henderson.
Here.
Louise Tiemann.
Here.
Anastasia Wright.
Here.
Will Appleton.
Here.
Doug Terrian. All right, we'll come back to you, Doug. From the City of Gig Harbor, Public Works Director Jeff Langhelm.
Here.
And Public Works Assistant Terry Garrison.
Here.
All right. And then Spencer is out of town, so he said he'd catch the meeting digitally, virtually. And that's everybody. And if everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from the August 4th meeting, we can go ahead and have a motion to approve those if there's not any changes.
So moved.
I'll second that. Oops, sorry. Any discussion or changes? No. All right. All in favor of approving this August 4th meeting minutes? Aye.
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 All right. So approved. We start with a introduction. Will Appleton, if you want to go ahead and take a minute to introduce yourself, give us a little history on yourself, what brought you to the Parks Commission, what brought you to Gig Harbor, and maybe like what's your favorite park?
Okay. So yeah, William Appleton. I've been a resident of Gig Harbor now since 2001. What brought us to Gig Harbor? We were in Alaska. We were thinking about we were thinking about moving to Seattle. And so we popped open a map, was looking around at the map, saw the name Gig Harbor. What's your gig was an expression that was often used by my major professor's son, who showed up in the lab all the time. I thought that was hilarious. I thought I should move to a place called Gig Harbor. I was told by my wife, Emily, who said emphatically, no, we're staying in Seattle. We're moving to Seattle. We're not going from one country location to another, or rural. So anyway, we ultimately ended up in Gig Harbor. We're on Stinson there, just below Rosedale. And Emily, my wife, actually had worked for many years for the city of Gig Harbor as an engineer there. And currently I work for the city of SeaTac as an engineer in the Public Works Department. And what brought me to this commission? Well, I've spent the last 20 years or so working for other cities. And then prior to that, I worked for the state and federal government. And so I thought it's about time to maybe spend a little bit of time thinking about the community that, well, I think often about the community that I live in, but actually maybe volunteer and try to do something constructive and help out. I have lots of opinions and I'm always happy to share them. And I like robust discussions and I'm not always right, but mostly. And so really, I'm just here because I think I'm hoping I have something significant to contribute to the group and to the community. And my favorite park probably is Eden Boat, and that's simply because it's right at the bottom of Stinson there, and I often find myself jumping in the harbor and swimming across it and back and forth. So that's probably my favorite park, and I do spend a lot of time at the other downtown parks as well along the water. And I commend the city for the foresight to have made those purchases. I mean, it amazes me every weekend we walk along there and just makes me smile. So it's a great thing.
Where were you in Alaska?
I lived in Eagle River, and
Okay.
I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers, and I did coastal engineering up there. So I was flying all over the state looking at ports and harbors and potential construction of ports and harbors. So I've seen a lot of Alaska, like really, really rural stuff.
We lived in Anchorage over by the airport. My husband was in the search and rescue squadron at the Alaska Air Guard.
Oh, nice. By the small plane airport or the international airport?
International.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting
you're
place.
actually safe, just like I am.
Yeah, I was told when I moved there that everyone had a moving to Alaska story and everyone has a leaving Alaska story. And I've got both, but I'll save them for another time.
Yeah.
And lots of stories in between as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, happy to have you there, Will. Looks like you're amongst good company, and happy to have your opinion and part of a conversation, hopefully. Doug, are you able to provide audio, or are you still kind of just listening? I can't really tell.
Check and see if he's a panel, if he's comes in as a guest.
He's listed as panelist.
Okay.
So I had trouble connecting to audio and just exited and came back in, and then it worked. So I don't know, Doug, if you can hear, maybe try that.
Looks like he'd done that a couple of times.
Has he? Okay.
Well, Doug, when you're able to connect to audio, just give us a holler and we'll acknowledge you and get your introduction. If you're okay listening for the time being, we're happy to have you listen for now. Hopefully you can troubleshoot your things. If not, you can try texting me and maybe we can get that worked out. So next item on the agenda is the old business item number 1, the pros plan update. So we have a subcommittee for the Parks Recreation Open Space Plan that's been working pretty hard on the update, working with a consultant and Terry and Jeff from the city. We just recently put out the survey. Maybe you found that in your mailbox. There's also been a fair amount of social media shares. Feel free to share that with your personal circles on your social platforms, whatever you might use. There are QR links, there are links through social media, there is links through the city's website. We've made it really accessible for people. We want a really high participation in this, and from the sounds of it, we've gotten a pretty good response so far digitally. The consultant said today he had over 500 responses today, or not today, but so far. I believe we set the closing date as September 10th. Is that correct? Do we finalize that?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So yeah, the closing date on that will be September 10th. The subcommittee is currently working on the parks and trails and conditions assessments of our inventory, with great help from Luis's inventory that she was able to create. That's been really helpful. Again, thank you, Luis. Let's see, what else is kind of going on with that?
Can I just add something on the sharing? If you could share it on your networks and email it out to your networks, either kind of your choice if you want to do it before the 3-day weekend or early next week. The city is going to do another push through using all of their social media outlets at the end of the week, kind of as a countdown, the deadline's almost here kind of thing. So if the city did one at the end of last week, so we want to kind of try to stagger it. So, but let's not worry about over duplicating, just do it before the end of next week.
Okay. And Roger, you have anything to add to that?
No, I pushed it out to a Facebook group up here in North Harbor, Harbor Hill All. So that reaches a ton of people. Plus it also showed up on our ROA website. So that reaches also a large number of people. So it's getting spread around, at least up here. North
You
side.
said the chambers had shared it as well when you did the candidate platform?
No, it was one of the candidate forums, and Seth mentioned that he saw it and he was pretty pleased that the city was reaching out to get input from everybody. So
Gotcha.
he actually gave us a little bit of free PR on it.
Okay, take it.
Terry, is there a way to give a push to like the Downtown Waterfront Alliance and Harbor Wild Watch, the museum, those kinds of people, to ask them to send it out too?
I emailed all the groups that I had
Yeah.
contacts with. So yeah, most of those were included.
And then
Do
I
it.
did have, are we able to get it, the 11x17 into the parks themselves?
We can print some out, laminate them. We'd have to get somebody to go actually put them in the parks. Volunteers, yes. Okay, I can work on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anastasia, and you don't mind tag teaming that with me? We'll split them in half and we'll come up with a little, okay, excellent, awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. And for Will and Doug, if you're listening, you might have audio now. If you want to take a peek at any old meetings to kind of bring you up to pace on any of these agenda items, if you go to the city's website and go to their agenda center, that will be able to provide you with an archive of old meetings. And you can just click on them and they're all digitally recorded and pretty easy to watch if you just pop it in an earplug. The agenda and the minutes correspond for each meeting? Are those like linked in the same ones for month to month, right? Yeah. So if you just take a look at the agenda and you can kind of get a synopsis of what we talked about and then decide if that's one you want to look at. Doug, are you able to have audio if you unmute yourself? Still struggling. Okay.
Nope, there he is.
Sorry.
Hi, Doug.
I'm sorry about
Sounds like you have a internet connectivity issue there.
it.
Jay's breaking up.
Yeah. All right, Doug, we're gonna come back to you. You got audio, but your connectivity is not the greatest.
We'll still welcome you to the group though when
Yes,
when
welcome,
you're
Doug.
online.
Happy to hear you. All right, Doug.
We've all been there, Doug. The first couple meetings were always a challenge to figure it all out and get in the right place.
Yeah, you got to find that sweet spot in some houses. If not, Starbucks is always a good option, or just do the link it to your phone's data. Okay, we're gonna and Jeff or Terry, is there anything else you'd like to add on the pros plan update?
It's going to the, and I'm sorry if you said that I missed it, but it's going to the Public Works Committee meeting at their October 12th meeting.
Right, and that's for their review, and the consultant's going to be at that meeting, correct?
I believe, yes, the consultant will be at that meeting.
And then we'll have a couple of the subcommittee members as well at that meeting.
Yes.
We'll have a nice dialogue on where we're at with the pros plan and get them an update and answer any questions they might have.
Yeah.
And I think that was it as far as the pros plan update. It is kind of a lot to kind of go over, and sorry that you're kind of jumping in the middle of it, Will and Doug. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to, Jeff, myself, Terry, Mary, Roger, with any questions. Let's see. But yeah, for now, if you have any questions, just reach out. I'm going to move on to old business item number 2, the status update in the Austin Park projects. This is a pretty big one that Jeff and the Public Works Department is taking on, and it looks like we have some pretty good headway. I'll just hand it over to Jeff if you want to go ahead and give us a nice update on what's going on there.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on at that park at the moment. There's 3 different projects essentially that are going on. The Parks Commission is probably aware of all of them to some level. So I'm going to go through, I'm just going to list off the 3 projects that are going on, and then I'm going to go back and go through each one of them in detail. First of all is the Austin Honoring Art Project. Very familiar with that, probably. Sculpture constructed by a Native American artist right at the water's edge. We are also in the process of re-signing the park because of resolution 1199 that renamed the park from Austin Estuary Park to part of it being Austin Park, and then the whole area being Tualaca Estuary. So Terry has been spending a lot of time working with operations, sign builders, and the mayor to get the signs on that. So I'll come back to that. And then there's something that's being called the Pylon Panel Project. This is something that's being taken on by the Arts Commission. So we've got those 3 projects that are all coming to an end. And with all the projects being completed by the end of this year. So I'm going to go back with the Austin Honoring Art. This is a 15-foot tall sculpture carved by a guy named Guy Capoman from the Quinault tribe. And he was selected by the honoring committee that was put in place 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that. This has gone through back and forth a lot of iterations and conversations with the planning department about how we can have this art piece placed where the artist and the honoring committee want it, which is right at the water's edge. As you probably know, for those of you who've been on this one, we had to go through a shoreline master program amendment just to get the art placed in this area. That's completed. We've now gone through land use approval. It went to the hearing examiner on August 19th. Hearing examiner will be issuing their decision by early to mid-September. Officially, the record closed on August 31st, and the hearing examiner has 10 days to make their decision. So that's the timeline on that for land use approval. We are coinciding with that. Also in the middle of the concrete foundation design. So the base of the foundation. The consultant we have working on that has provided us final drafts. We're waiting on final documents so that we can either A, go out to bid, or B, have our public works operations crew build it. It's a pretty small foundation. The structural engineers decided that because of cultural resources that may be found in that area, and that's the last part of my report, they decided to make the base quite wide. So the actual artwork is 41-inch diameter trees, California redwood, and the base of the concrete foundation is 6'6". So it's quite a bit larger, but it doesn't go very deep into the soil. It only goes a foot, 1.5 feet, 18 inches into the soil. So that large diameter has allowed the foundation to be fairly shallow, so we don't have to dig down very far. We don't want to disturb any artifacts. And so, and then we're working with the honoring committee to make sure that there's a place on the foundation for a plaque that notes what the statue is about, who built the statue, and everything else. So just finalizing all those details. So that's running forward in parallel to the land use decision. And then cultural resources, we have a consultant on board who's preparing a cultural resources report. It's going to submit it to Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation, otherwise known as DAP, at the state. And then it will have all the requirements of what DAP requires, and we'll have an inadvertent discovery plan. If there's anything found there, we'll have an idea of what we need to do. But we hope that we'll be clear of disturbing any artifacts.
Jeff,
So
is there going to be somebody on site during the actual construction to look for any cultural resources that might be uncovered?
yes, that's part of the consultant's duties will be to do that. I can't remember if their scope originally included that or if we have to add that to their scope, but yeah, there will be. And so putting all this together, the city is probably going to receive a building permit from the building division sometime by mid-October. So that means either we're going to be out to bid by then and hopefully awarded a contract for construction of the base, or our operations crew is going to be preparing to place that base themselves. So it's a fairly low.
And you can do it in that time period, that close to the water?
Yes, we can. It's might be surprising. It's actually fairly well draining soil right there. It's a lot of it is not clay. It's just a lot of silt, sand and silt. And so if you've walked on that site in the middle of winter, it's not a huge mud puddle. So we think we'll be able to do that. But the timeline for the actual art is once the concrete is poured, it has to cure to some degree. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the specifications to see if it's a 3-day cure, 7-day cure, 21-day cure. But the artist is going to come back and work with the Public Works Department and place the artwork onto the foundation. And the artist has a few minor tweaks to do to the artwork to finalize it and to put it in place. So we're looking at sometime in November
Hmm.
to have the artwork placed.
Are we planning on any kind of a ceremony or anything?
Yes, there will be something, trying to coordinate that with the mayor, and we'll coordinate that with the artist and the honoring committee and the Parks Commission
Okay,
and the city council.
sounds cool.
As a lot of projects come together at once, so it's I mean, nice collaboration of everything kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so the re-signing of the park, if you go down there this week, you'll see some of the changes that are happening. The re-signing of the park includes audio kiosk that Terry found and the mayor wanted to help identify how to pronounce. I mean, we talked about this all this year about the Twelcuth Estuary, the Squaboch Band, and the Puyallup tribe said that they didn't really want those pronunciations on some sign or post. They felt it was best to have an audio recording. And so Terry found this kiosk that actually allows you to have audio recordings and push buttons. So that's what the mayor, the direction received from the mayor. And so those recordings have been added to the kiosks. They're in our possession, and they're going to be placed either this week or next week. I know Ken Andrews was down there with the crew yesterday or today, actually just getting those set up. So it's
Nice.
happening. Yeah. And there's other signs. There's the big sign at that is the monument sign for the park itself. That's Terry, did we actually just receive that? Is that correct?
Yeah, we just received it today, so
Yeah.
they're gonna try to get both of them in this week if they can.
Yeah. So it's
Are we
changing.
gonna have any signs for the estuary name or just the park?
I can show you the big
Yeah.
sign here if I can
Oh.
get to it really quick.
So I just have to give kudos to Terry and Ken for working with the mayor and getting all of this collectively put together. So it's been a lot of work.
Are you able to see that sign?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Looks
the
good.
new sign that goes in front of the park at the
Okay,
entrance.
good.
And then the audio sign. Let's see. Stop share. It has a faceplate on the front that shows the different buttons and what you'll hear about.
Oh, cool.
Love that.
And my understanding, Terry, is that audio kiosk is about 6-inch by 6-inch square and about 3.5 feet tall, something like that.
It's going to be mounted on a post.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think of a picture right off of it, but yeah,
There's
we
like a-
mounted on a post so it's accessible.
And there's not a
Everybody.
freestanding like 4x4 post.
Something like that. The
Okay.
shop's coming up with something to mount it on.
I
Gotcha.
had heard from somebody at one time they were gonna be mounted on those old concrete pillars that were out there.
Yeah, that was a rumor. We didn't start that one.
Where is it going to be mounted, Jeff?
Well, Terry, do you mind sharing that map that Mike made? Do you have
Yeah.
that accessible? Oh, Terry's working also on a sign that will actually show where all of these items will be placed. And I haven't even gotten to the description of the pylon panels that Arts Commission's working on, but those will be on there also. So yeah, Terry can bring that up.
This is a very early draft.
Yeah.
But it'll be like a "you are here" kind of sign. And it's gonna have all the pylons shown, all the benches, the artwork, the audio sign.
And
Where is
we have two of those audio signs. Terry, can you show where those will be placed?
There's only one audio sign.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was two.
No, it'll be just inside the Austin entrance where those two paths
Oh.
merge.
Okay,
It'll be right there. There's only one audio sign. There'll be two of these signs, one at Donkey Creek Park and one at the Austin entrance.
So do we have a sign then that is kind of by the estuary, shall we say, that calls attention to the fact that the estuary is renamed?
We are replacing 5 of those steel panel signs. One of them will be in Donkey Creek. And it has some of the native history. And then there's one at the entrance to Austin that has the Austin Mill history. And I believe it has the, let me look here. Has more, oh, that's the other one. Yeah, it does have the information about the naming.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like there's a specific sign that says this is the Tualacut estuary right here. It's integrated into the entrance sign,
Yeah,
but like Mary was alluding to, no.
It'll be
specific-
listed on these map kind of signs. It's not on there yet, but
Okay.
it'll have the estuary designated out in the water. It might not show the whole estuary because that would really shrink down the map, but
Yeah.
but it's a work in progress. So yeah, if you have comments, feel free to send them on for what you want to see located. If you were walking in, what would you want to know is there along the path? So
Gotcha.
and
And
that's,
so-
I guess I want to make sure that there's a sign at the estuary that tells people the name of the estuary and why.
At like the water's edge, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
I would like that too. Is that a permitting issue, Jeff? If we want to put a sign closer to the water?
If we're going to add a sign, yes.
Okay.
These signs that we're putting in are replacing existing signs.
Yeah,
okay.
well, it's just a
But I
permitting
think that-
issue. It's not that we can't do it. It's just,
Right.
gotta go through
And
permitting.
But it'll
think that-
happen later.
Input that you provide to Terry in terms of that map maybe would be helpful, because maybe we can work to get as much of that type of information on those signs, since there's going to be multiple signs.
Okay,
yeah, we're redoing the panel sign at the entrance, the one that says Austin Estuary right now. It tells more about the history of the mill. So we're fixing some of the wording on that one. That one's not changing a lot. But the one over in Donkey Creek Park, it's gonna talk about the village that was there and that information. Then we have the two maps, and I think there's one other sign. I'm not, can't think of which one it is now, but we're replacing ones that are there.
Sounds like a full plate of signage.
Yeah.
It
Nice
is.
job, Terry.
Thanks.
I
So
thought it was interesting,
Can
you
you
know,
email
like,
us the iteration of the map, an iteration of the map that you want us to look at?
I'm waiting to get the next draft back from our
Okay.
GIS person who's working on it, so, yeah, and then I just want to confirm that the directions where the mayor wants to go, and then we can get it some more input then. I don't want him to keep working on it if it's not what he's thinking.
Just a quick question on the base, Jeff. Did you say the base was 6 by 6, 18 inches deep? Is that?
it's 6-inch diameter. It's essentially a 6'6", 6.5 foot diameter circle, a cylinder.
Okay, so what's the treatment on is that just going to be exposed concrete at that point, or is it going to be covered? Is there a treatment beyond that? I'm assuming, and I'm assuming that's located out near the water's edge at the point there.
Yes, it's going to be located directly across the path from the picnic table that's out at the point.
Okay, how's the top of that base going to be treated beyond having a placard on it? Is it just going to be exposed concrete?
It's all going to be exposed concrete. Yep. And the very top where the artwork is going to be placed, there's going to be an air gap between the artwork and the concrete.
Is there any opportunity to, I don't know, expose concrete? I mean, can it be treated in any function, either covered to some extent or something like that to make it a little less industrial, more natural, or?
It's
no?
going to have some tinting added to it to make it darker. Not a whole lot darker. It's not going to be black. It's not going to be colored necessarily. It's just going to be darker. In fact, working with the consultant right now to figure out what that'll exactly look like.
maybe some stamped concrete would look good on top of it, you know? Some kind of a,
I have to leave this to the honoring committee. They're very specific on what they wanted to see.
okay. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the last part of this, of the projects that I started off describing was the pylon project for the Arts Commission. If you've been in and around Donkey Creek Park and Austin Park, you will have noticed 5 concrete pillars that are placed sporadically, and they're not plumb. They're a little askew around the park. So if you're unfamiliar with those, because it doesn't, we haven't talked about those a whole lot, but you might be familiar. Those pillars came from Old State Highway 14 that ran through Gig Harbor and crossed Donkey Creek, where North Harborview crosses Donkey Creek today. There used to be a bridge for the state highway. When the city was, in fact, it was Emily Appleton's project, when she was unearthing the Donkey Creek that was placed previously in a 36-inch diameter culvert, and did the daylighting, and we built the bridge there now. The contractor found these pillars, and the city decided we wanted to keep them and put a story about them. And so the city placed those pillars, as you see them today, throughout the Austin Park and Donkey Creek Park. The Arts Commission saw that and decided that they wanted to do something with that, to talk not necessarily about Old Highway 14 that came through Gig Harbor, but talk about the estuary and the Squabosh people that lived in the area. And so this is going to be more information about the city, the development of the city, and the Puyallup tribe's existence and presence in Gig Harbor. Each pillar is going to have one sign on it. The sign is going to be, I think the dimensions, Terry, correct if I'm wrong, it's about 15 inches wide by 40 inches tall. And that has language on it that's provided by a local resident who is also an archaeologist. And so that language has been approved by the Puyallup tribe and the mayor. So we've received quotes on that. We're going to hopefully get those signs made up and put in place by depends on who you ask. I think it's going to happen probably sometime in October, but it's all coming together around the same time, and intent is to have it in place before the artwork is in place. So that's that. So lots going on in one small area.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know if the Chum Festival is being planned to be held this year as well?
I haven't heard it's planned, and there's been a lot of cancellations of events throughout the harbor for the rest of the year that, in fact, Terry and I were just talking about yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything come in for Chum Festival.
And I believe it's canceled.
Most of the ones that are still planned are races, the Race for a Soldier and Turkey Trot and bike rides.
The Dragon Boat or Paddler's Cup had been rescheduled for October with a we'll hope for it kind of date, and then that was canceled and pushed to its normal time in April next year.
Gotcha. Thank COVID.
Yeah.
Well, that's my update.
Awesome.
It's a lot. That's a lot, Jeff.
Yeah, that's just,
And Terry
that's just
both.
the Austin Park update, not your
Right.
Parks Manager update.
And there was a small shout out on the Northwest Carver Facebook page about our art finally going in, and some pictures. That was a couple or 3 weeks ago, but happy buzz among the 9,000 people on that site that
Wow.
honoring project was going in. So it was a nice shout out for Gig Harbor there.
Wow. That's great.
And that's a fun site if you've gotten more interested in Northwest carving. That it is, let me look real quick at its proper title. It is the Northwest Coast Native Carver page, and some beautiful work there. Northwest, all spelled out, Northwest Coast Native Carvers. And our artist is one of the people that periodically put something up there, but lots of others as well.
Awesome.
All right.
Who knew I was going to get interested in native carving when I joined the Parks Commission?
Right. Native history too. I'm just like,
Right?
they literally put a sawmill next to their, their village, and like, wow, they disbanded. Crazy.
And I have like 10 words of Toshutsi now that I would not have had otherwise. So
Yeah. This has been very, very informative, I think, for a lot of us. So I'm glad this whole project kind of happened the way it did. Any other questions or concerns on the Austin Park projects? If not, we'll move along in the agenda there. There's nothing under the new business, so we can skip that and head on to the parks update report. But nonetheless, Mr. Langhelm himself.
This will be so glad when we have a parks manager. Speaking of
Which,
yes, we have,
Yes.
I have just received an email requesting my presence, and I think a couple of you, or one of you maybe, has also for interviews for parks
of us.
manager. So that's going to
Woohoo!
be happening in mid-September, mid to late September. So good thing. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Last I heard there were 15 applicants, and the city administrator has reviewed those along with human resources director, and has pared it down to, I don't know how many applicants for interviews, but starting to move that forward.
It's
Yeah.
great news. Great news. Not that we don't love having you, Jeff, but you've got a
know.
lot going on.
Appreciate that.
Certainly use the help. So I'm happy to hear
Yeah.
that.
And then I was just going to highlight a couple things in Terry's park update, and then open to questions on any other park updates. Community Paddlers Dock. Speaking of the Paddlers Cup, American Construction is under contract now. We had our pre-construction meeting, I'll say last Friday. I flipped the calendar already. And no, it's 2 Fridays ago. Yeah. And so they've submitted quite a few documents for us to review for submittals. And it's going to be a long turnaround time between the time that they've submitted submittals and then we get final building permits for them to actually build the float system and gangway based on the approved submittals. So there's quite a bit of time in there. Right now, American Construction has it on their schedule to be here in the harbor building the floats and putting the gangway in January. We are trying to shorten that time frame by having a faster way of reviewing the submittals and having concurrent review by the engineer of record, who's David O Consulting Group, and the city's building division. So we don't usually do those in parallel. We usually do them in series, one after another, but we're going to try something a little different. So to try and shorten that time frame, we'll see if we're successful. So, but worst case scenario, the work will be done in January. So that's Community Paddlers Dock. And then one other bright note of things coming in the near future is as soon as we get moving forward with everything related to the Austin Estuary and a couple other things that are on my plate, primarily budget, I am going to try and get a consultant on board under contract to start the Gig Harbor North Sports Complex Phase 1B design. So
Good.
that's coming down pipe, and definitely want to be able to have that consultant well underway before the end of the year. The intent is to try and get design and permitting completed by February of 2023 so that we can break ground in early spring and hopefully be done by the end of 2023.
Great news.
Yeah. And that's all my updates. To highlight, any questions or go on what else is going on? I mean, you've seen a lot of work around the city, but.
Will there be any opportunity for the Parks Commission to look at the design of the Phase 1B?
Oh, yes.
I mean, early on, so it's not, well, here it is and we can't change anything, but have a nice day. I mean, something that would be early enough that if we thought jointly that there might be a positive change, it won't mess stuff up.
Yes, but we have to be cautious. We did receive $500,000 from Recreation Conservation Office, RCO, based on a design that we submitted to them. So changing it drastically is not an option, but fine tuning it is.
Okay,
So if you haven't seen that, please email Terry and she will, or I will be able to provide you with a schematic that was provided during the RCO grant application process for phase
Okay.
1B. Yeah, in fact, I could, if we talk long enough, I could probably bring it up.
yeah, that would be good. I'd like to see that.
And then just a side note on that. I'll let you guys ask your questions.
I was wondering if so the city council passed a resolution rejecting all bids for the Stanzi net shed repainting project.
Yes,
What was the rationale behind that?
it was beyond the budget. Both bids were well above the budget that we had available to us. The intent is to try and get through the winter by doing some patching of the roof with our own operations crew this year, and then to put out a bigger project next year that will include re-roofing the entire structure and doing some minor structural improvements. So hopefully we can get better bids. We have to readjust our budget. We also are going to look at other ways to possibly paint the building. We've had a couple of suggestions. We essentially told the contractor you have to encapsulate it because nothing can touch the water, though most, or even depending on how extreme low tide you have, at some point the entire net shed is out of the water. The tide is out so far that you have seabed to stand on. And so is it possible to hang a tarp or put a tarp down on the seabed? We're looking at those options and we have to talk to the Department of Fish and Wildlife about that.
Gotcha. And is the Stanzi Net Shed Foundation, are they providing any funds to contribute?
No, they're not. They have offered volunteers to, and if it becomes a volunteer opportunity to help in any way, but we haven't found that way yet.
Yeah, the volunteer thing is problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of volunteers, do we have an update on the AdoptAPark issue that,
No, we don't.
okay,
No. That is between the union and human resources still at this point.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, I'm almost there to find the schematic of phase 1B. All right. Almost there. Okay, let me crop it in because you wouldn't be able to see it at this scale. So I'm sure you are all familiar with where this is, but it's just north of the Y for those of you who might not be. The YMCA parking lot is shown here. The very north end of the YMCA parking lot is shown here. And then the trees that are beyond the YMCA parking lot is essentially phase 1B. The new crosswalk that is in Harbor Hill Drive going over to Swiftwater Elementary is right about here. If you can see my cursor next to the pickleball courts. And so we've added parking. We've added this event stage, and sorry, the clarity is not that good on this, but there's a building here with restrooms. Bocce ball courts are in yellow, pickleball courts are in blue, and then a fenced, turfed play area for both 5 to 12-year-olds and 2 to 5-year-olds.
so question on the trees that are lining the Harbor Hill Drive.
Yes.
Are they just gonna like mow all those trees down and put in ornamentals? Is that what the plan shows? Or are they gonna attempt to use save the existing trees as a buffer?
I don't know that yet. It depends on the grade change. You can see there's an ADA path here because we need to have quite a drastic grade change. And so if we have to do a lot of grading, the trees will come down.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
The playground, the playgrounds that are shown there, Jeff, are those all access or?
They're all access, ADA
Great.
compliant. Yep. Yep. I thought I had a better drawing, but this one's really hard to read. Sorry about that. We have a better one somewhere, but we'll find, and if you want the better one, we can get it to you.
What are bocce ball courts usually surfaced with?
I don't know what they're usually surfaced with. I've honestly never played bocce ball, but these are going to be oysters. They're going to be surfaced with crushed oyster shells.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sand typically or what.
I think I seen grass, but yeah, I wasn't sure because the white
Oh,
kind of threw me
okay.
off. So.
Okay.
And then the event lawn, it's a little blurry. Is that 17,000 square feet? Or is it 13?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of playgrounds, I was up at the Veterans Memorial Park, and that playground is getting a lot of use.
Yes.
That is a well-loved addition to that park.
Yes, I hear every once in a while from Ken Andrews in operations that they go up there, and it's even when they were trying to do a little bit of cleaning, and when well, I blanked on the name of the company that provided that equipment. Anyway, when they wanted to take some pictures up there, they had a hard time getting in there and getting it cleared out and cleaned up because there were so many kids there.
Yeah. I'd be almost asked to flip the bleachers around. That way parents have a place to sit instead of,
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Any other update questions for Jeff? What was the other one I saw in there? Oh, the Eden boat house or park house, they chimney updates, and then so what happens after that? Then it's just they start re-siding the walls or whatever they do inside, because the inside's like bare bones, right?
Inside's almost done. The only thing that's not done on the inside right now is the sheetrock around the chimney upstairs, and then some of the upstairs that needs to be finished once the chimney is all in place. But it's almost done. They need to refinish the floors. They've been holding off, and that's the last thing they're going to do before the contractor leaves is refinish the floors. And so they've got a few items left, but they're getting close.
Nice. And then has it been established yet what percentage is going to be open to the public and what percentage is going to be open to the
Gig Harbor Boat Shop.
yeah.
Yeah, it's what the way the lease is written, and it's actually if it's considered the third. The lease for the house is the third amendment to the boat shop, or to end boat site for Gig Harbor Boat Shop. So if you are wondering where the lease is, it's actually the amendment to the park lease itself by Gig Harbor Boat Shop. It states that 50% will be used for Gig Harbor Boat Shop programming, which may be including if you want to use it as a person of the general public, and 50% will be, at least 50% will be used for general public programming. The mayor is trying to work with Gig Harbor Boat Shop to identify what the general public's programming might look like, rental or what have you. The mayor has been talking about possibly having it be time that the city has volunteers in there that open it to the general public, and the city will represent the general public's 50% of the time. So all that has to be ironed out still. And the building itself at this point cannot be open and receive certificate of occupancy until all of the additional parking stalls are created that are connected with the Harborview Stinson Roundabout project. And so that project will not be completed until August of next year.
Gotcha.
Jeff, can I just ask a quick question on this? It's a little bit unrelated, I guess, to the house, but, and I haven't seen the plans, but for the roundabout, what's the taking from the park and how is that mitigated, just briefly? Or was it?
And there's the actual dimensions of the roadway have stayed within the right of way. There's impacts to the park because of the shoreline master program. we have had to take out as part of the drawings, and you haven't seen this, Will, let me try and find that drawing.
That's okay. I can get them from you separate. I don't want to,
Okay.
everyone else, I'm just belaboring their time, but
Essentially, we've added a total of 7 parking stalls with the roundabout project. 4 of them are parallel parking stalls in the right of way. It's cleaning up a couple areas on the driveway going in now that the roundabout's going in. So that's cleaning it up, meaning we're taking what was essentially unusable area, really wide driveway area, and making it parking now. But we're adding a lot of trees and shrubs to be consistent with the vegetated buffer that's required in the shoreline master program for the site. So there's grass is coming out in quite a bit of that area on the steeper part of the hillside, and shrubs and trees are going in.
It's not gonna, there's no reason to add like retaining wall or anything like that to that area then, is there?
No, we looked at that as an option. There's some short retaining walls, but there's nothing that's going to be big. I mean, short, like just a couple feet.
Gotcha.
In fact, I don't even know if they're I believe they're so short they don't require hand railings.
Huh.
Yeah. We've tried to do it all with slopes and grading.
Nice.
I can't picture that at all because it seems like there's such the driveway really drops down there, on a pretty good angle from the street level.
Yes, very true.
I look forward to seeing it when it's done.
there's quite a bit of a landing right at the top there. It's a little deceptive. So maybe that's where it's being fit in.
Let me see. Oh, you know what? I have it right here. I was showing it to someone else. In fact, I think it was the Arts Commission. Let me bring it up here. Let me get it oriented so we're all not twisting our heads sideways. Okay, so this is the landscaping plan is what I'm going to show you for the project. Here it is. Okay, can all of you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hard to see with the right-of-way lines back here.
Especially for those of us with bifocals.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot going on here. But essentially what it is right now the driveway comes in right about here. And there's a bunch of parking over here that's being restored and having it vegetated. There's also a retaining wall right here. As you walk down the driveway, there's a retaining wall here. That retaining wall is shifted back so that these 3 parallel parking stalls can be solidified.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep. So that retaining wall is just getting shifted. In fact, I think it's not even as tall as it was. But there's a path here. You can see there's grass here so people can walk. There's also this now ADA compliant entrance along the driveway itself. And then the roundabout. The roundabout, just for your reference, the roundabout outside to outside diameter of the Rosedale Stinson roundabout is 65 feet. This one is 80 feet. So it's 15 feet larger diameter. And the angles coming in and out are not as steep.
Yeah, it's
Not
good.
as sharp as the 4-way. So we anticipate that we'll have a little better reception from the general public on this roundabout compared to the one at Rosedale.
Oh, you should hear the things that I hear when I'm out canvassing, Jeff, about that roundabout.
Oh, I hear a lot.
I'm sure you do.
I joke with people, but the people I hear it from the most is my dad and my Uncle Jim. But to Louise, to your point, this area here of the roundabout is being raised, or of the intersection is being raised about 3.5, 4 feet to make it not a completely flat intersection, but mostly flat intersection. Close. I think the grade across the intersection is like 4% now. But there's all this vegetated area is because we're gaining in elevation quite a bit.
Okay, which makes sense because that is part of the problem of that bit of the street is how it slopes.
Yeah.
So
during construction, that sidewalk's going to be pretty much closed, right? Parts of that sidewalk?
Yes, the contractor is required to keep it open at all times.
Oh, okay.
But that said, next week, the 4 days after Labor Day, the entire intersection is going to be closed to the traveling public. We've got it out on social media. There's a detour that's going to be put in place, though the public is still going to be able to traverse from on the water side from south to north or from south to east. But they're going to have to cross Harborview Drive, walk along the side, the upland side, and then cross back here at the crosswalk.
Okay, so they're gonna set up some sort of a temporary sidewalk on that other side then?
Yep.
Okay, good. And that's, I was thinking about that.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
going to,
very nice.
they're having to do some massive excavations in the middle of the roadway for
Yeah.
the sewer relocation work.
Excellent. And is there gonna be a no left turn sign right at the head of the, on the exit lane coming out of the boathouse area? I see you have a right turn arrow, but is there gonna be a sign there as well? I'm just worried about people wanting to make that nice shortcut.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at the signage
All right.
plan. Good question.
I just see that as a scary thing, somebody just trying to do that, because who wants to drive in a circle when you can make a sharp left there and cut through?
Yes.
Straight line, quickest route.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for sharing, Jeff.
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge project, but it's gonna help the park too, I think. That'll be good.
I think the city's done a really good job of notifying people of the
Yeah.
the closures and everything too. I'm sure that there are many people who haven't seen the notices, but I think I've seen at least 8.
Good. Good. I'm glad it's getting out there. There's always the people that you can't reach everybody.
No,
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on parks updates? No,
nope.
okay. Any committee reports aside from the pros plan update? Kind of where we're at with that. We should have, let's see. So the Public Works Committee is, you said October 14th, I think is what you said. So we'll have another meeting before then.
The 12th,
so
I
probably-
think.
Oh, was it 12th? Okay. So our meeting will be before that, but we'll be able to probably update with what we're bringing into them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, just a reminder, I think I might have mentioned this to at least Ben and Mary, but we staff need to provide the Public Works Committee with all of their items for their upcoming meeting the Thursday evening before the Public Works Committee. So that will be on October 7th, the evening. So since we'll have our meeting on October 6th, if there's any tweaks, adjustments, or something, I'll be able to provide that to the Public Works Committee based on our meeting with the Parks Commission on the 6th.
Right. Okay. So any final tweets?
That's at 5:30 as well?
No, that's at 3 o'clock.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. That was a good, I forgot to mention that.
And so yeah, then we'll give an update for the pros plan again at our next meeting, and where we're bringing into that after the assessment's done, and the finalized list for the stakeholders. I think that's what we're bringing to Public Works Committee, aside from the general update too, and where we're at with the consultant and stuff like that.
We should also have the survey, initial survey results by then as well.
Yeah, we should.
Right.
Right.
We have a lot of work to do between now and
True that.
our next meeting.
Okay. And then nothing new from leaf line trails or anything like that, Roger?
No.
Okay. We should probably, I want to say the Cushman, the Cushman trail signage. I feel like we should revive that conversation here in the next couple of months.
We should, if, we don't know if there's any budget for it though still. Is there a
Right.
budget?
There,
Jeff put in,
in the 2022 budget, there's $18,000 that I just actually met with the mayor earlier this week, and that's continuing forward to the council.
Okay. Well, good to hear that. So at least it's going to be asked to be put in the budget. It hasn't yet been put in the budget.
right, been approved or anything. And that will
Roger?
be, The
Can I-
new council or old council that approves that budget?
The existing council will approve the budget.
Okay.
Roger, do you know if the Leaf Line people have talked to PennMet with the extension, the new extension of Cushman Trail to the CRC?
That I don't know. I know that they've been pretty active on trying to get their base map out to share with everybody to start doing QA on their giant multi-county mapping. So I'm not sure if they've done that. I'll go out, I'll ping them and see if they've reached out on the extension. Have
And
you
if
heard
you-
anything on it?
Well, we are days away, maybe 2 weeks at the most from the final siting plan for all kinds of things with the CRC, but that includes the Cushman Trail extension. So
Okay,
I'm not the right person to talk to. That's not my CFO thing, but I can connect them to the right person and would be
Okay.
happy if you introduce us, and I'll send you my PennMet address
okay, that would be good.
and we can go from there.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Cool. Thanks, Luis. And I don't think we received any public comment, correct, Terry? Anything? Okay.
Must be August.
Yes. Where we at? Anything else for the good order? Will, happy to have you. Doug, happy to have you as well. Look forward to getting a more formal introduction from you in the upcoming meeting, hopefully. Our next meeting will be October 6th, 2021. Same time, 5:30. Yeah. Anybody else have anything? No? All right. Someone offer a motion to,
Motion to adjourn, right?
yep. Second, all in favor? All
Aye.
right.
Aye.
Have a great night, everybody. See you in a
All
month.
right. Yeah.
Bye.
All
Nice to
right.
see everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.